During the era of ruthless aggression, when stars weren't stepping up to the plate or were too injured to compete at the highest level, rightly or wrongly, one man stepped up, John Bradshaw Layfield. An already established tag team and mid-card talent, JBL was given a push, defeating Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Going on to have a career in commentary and being inducted into the Hall of Fame, issues regarding bullying and personal life outside of the ring have drawn his great legacy into question. Join us now as Roz Ginger asks, should WWE erase John Bradshaw Layfield?
Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Raw is Ginger, and as you can see, we're all back today.
The boys are back in town.
Andrew's been keeping us going with some content over the past few weeks. I've been enjoying it.
Oh, thank you, my friend.
Enjoying the videos.
Surprisingly, one of them's just what seems to have tickled the box of that old algorithm. It went from having like 6 views, and all of a sudden it's at the time it's recording, it's at 170. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? But no, people seem to like it. I've got another couple of top 5s lined up, which I'll obviously discuss with you guys because for some opinions before I put them out, because obviously we've been changing things up. Content's been getting a bit more nuts. Like Toner is currently flying with his low ball show. That time that's recording, he has just crossed 100 subscribers. I will put on a applause right here. So we can have these applause because that's like 5 figures. It's a brilliant achievement, man. Well done.
Yes.
And that's only 5 that are actually in the can. You've only dropped 4. But no, you've done brilliantly, mate. And just the way you've been going about it's fantastic. And I actually had somebody today when I was out commenting about gentle dorks, Kev.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, somebody that was at the certain station that we were talking about earlier on before we came on. It's followed me on the Facebook and it said, "Oh, I've seen you do content and stuff." I was like, "I like that gentle dorks. And what guy? He's really good." And I was like, "I'll pass it on to him. I'm recording tonight." Yeah. So there you go. We're getting some waves, certainly. And my good reputation is going to get absolutely torched after this episode because we are jumping into another should WWE erase. This time we are covering JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. Now, normally I'm the one that goes, right, get these guys to FC UK. But in an interesting turn of events, Toner and Kev are on the fence about him. Whereas I'm actually saying we should keep him in. So it's a bit of an interesting one. So obviously we know that I'm going to be trying to say, no, don't erase him. So who's going to be the judge and who's going to be the one that's going to fight for him? Or for him to get kicked out?
I'll be the judge. On you go, Kev.
Right,
well, that's good because Toner's been absolutely kicking both our arses lately.
He has been.
Yes.
And just to be fair, Kev, I'm probably siding slightly more with you because you've got a nicer smile today. So
always have.
Yeah. As long as I'm surprised, my skin actually looks quite pale considering I got this sunburn to feck at that community day at the weekend. My entire neck, seriously, I was actually holding a tongs, and my face was bright red. I looked like Zoidberg. Because we were talking about Futurama.
We've told you, you're ginger. You shouldn't go out. The sun isn't your friend.
I say that, but I'm a dad, and if I'm taking the kids out, I have to go out. The whole thing was, we were waiting in the queue to go on a bouncy castle. It was about 20 minutes long, and the sun was hitting at the back of the neck, but the boys were in front of me. So me being Papa Bear, I was protecting them from the sun. And in turn, I got scalped. And normally I've been getting burned, quite a lot over the last couple of years.
Use them to protect you.
Yeah, they would they take a tan, by the way. They're 5 years old and they take a better tan than me. And that was the thing though, was I've been burned and stuff over the last couple of years. It's not like I haven't been burnt or whatever, but it's been fine. But it was just so damn sore this time, and it was only 20 minutes. It didn't even look like that bad a day. It was overcast and 23 degrees, and all of a sudden I came home and I'm like, I am actually dying. And I was looking at my neck, and her exact words were, "Oh fuck." So, right, let's jump in to our arguments. Or should WWE erase JBL? Now, Kev, we'll go to you. Why do you think that JBL should be erased from the WWE?
Honestly, he was an interim champion. They put the belt on him because there was nobody else around at that time that they wanted to push. He's not a top tier guy. I never thought he was. In the tag team division, fair enough. Mid card, fair enough. He is a great wrestler, but he's just not got that thing that the top guys have. He didn't have the character. He came in, he's like, I'm a rich bastard, fuck yous all. We've got Vince McMahon, we don't need a rich bastard. He was basically doing that for the sake of them having a rich guy. Because Vince McMahon was off the air for a bit, for some reason. He was away doing the XFL or something. And they needed these type of characters. It's like, who can we have? It's like, oh, well, we can get JBL in. He is actually rich. He was good with his money. He is loaded. Let's just get him in as a Texas tycoon. All they needed today was give him 2 guns, get him a big moustache, he's just Yosemite Sam. It just didn't date it for me.
Oh, man.
And the people they were putting him against, it's like, these people could have been the top guys. Some of them could have. I would say Rey Mysterio when they were doing that, but again,
Yeah, let's not go there. You're gonna lose all points. You're gonna lose all points with Tona.
No, I was saying there is some, but the thing they've made him go against Rey Mysterio. JBL could thrash him, and they made it equal. It's like, no, that's like putting Rey Mysterio with a Big Show and making it an equal match. It's no, Big Show could flack him with his pinky and he's done. It was
Gaining
real.
points
It was
here, Kev.
believable.
Yeah, he's trying to claw it back. He's trying to suck up, forgetting the fact that JBL's technical retirement match was against Rey Mysterio, where he got squashed by Rey Mysterio in 27 seconds.
The stupidest idea in the world to have somebody like Rey Mysterio retire
JBL.
Retire anybody. They could have had somebody like Brock Lesnar coming back for 2 matches and just thrash him. There you go. But no.
But by that point, JBL was already retired, and if you were talking about a time that was meant to be, Brock was in the octagon, legitimately killing people. He probably would have actually killed JBL. In fairness, I don't think a lot of people would have missed him when you consider his off-screen track record.
I mean, just the off-screen stuff. I would have brought the Blue Meanie in to beat him in 27 seconds. There you go. There's your JBL.
Steven Richards sorted that one out. that is one of the most brutal chair shots that I had seen since the I Quit match with Rock and Mankind. That was why I was just like, yes, that is fantastic. Oh man. And it's these things that make me think, maybe we should keep him in, because we're depriving ourselves of all the glorious times that JBL got his ass handed to him. Because if you think about it, like, JBL off screen was an absolute bell end. There is no denying that. He was a complete toss nugget. Yeah, I've invented that word for him, toss nugget. And the only reason, one of the reasons, because I genuinely do think that he is a good wrestler. I think he was a good brawler. I think his tag team with the APA was brilliant. I even think when he was in the Acolytes, what he provided in what was a very unusual stable at the time, of the Ministry of Darkness, he provided the muscle and like the kind of actual intimidating presence with Farouk and that group needed, because they had the Brood, which wasn't exactly, the type of Edge wasn't the type of character that we knew he could become. Same with Christian. Gangrel was Gangrel. I mean, come on, what if he was biting somebody? Fair dues, but not like in terms of the actual wrestling stuff. Viscera was just a legitimate bomb scare. At least the APA, when they became those Acolytes, actually gave that stable a bit of legitimacy in terms of they could actually kick somebody's backside. And then the APA was fantastic. It was basically Ron and John being Ron and John. They were drinking beer, smoking cigars, kicking the crap out of people, done, dusted, brilliant. But as we know with everything, things get stale. Even Austin got stale. Like, granted, that was a lot of self-sabotage, but eventually they were just like, nah, we're not interested. Even The Rock, before he was due to kind of bog off to Hollywood with Brock Lesnar, he wasn't getting the pops that he was normally getting, and him and the WWE have both came out and said that themselves. That he still had star power, but it was on the decline. And the whole thing with like JBL becoming, basically JBL, the best characters are the ones that are the truest to who they are. And that was pretty true to who JBL was. In the terms of, yes, he's good with his money. He had a big limousine. He is a bit of a douche nozzle. He was coming out and being himself, but just in a characterized way. And that's what I liked about it. And remember that at this point, Eddie Guerrero was champion when this happened. It was just after WrestleMania 20, but everything was going back down the slide again. They'd had their little boom period after, because they had obviously the Attitude Era, 2002, it went in the slide. 2003, 2004, it was starting to crawl back up. We had the Eddie Guerrero and Benoit embrace WrestleMania 20. Everybody was on board with that at the time. But ratings started dwindling down after those two underdog stories happened. There was no, like you said, there was no legitimate guy. John Cena wasn't at that level yet. He was US champion at that point. He still had to earn his stripes. And they were deprived of talent. But Eddie Guerrero was taking it really, really hard. He was putting the shoulder in the blame himself and saying, like, if the champion isn't bringing in the draws, then that's a problem on me. Someone needs to take the belt off me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that to Vince, take the belt off me because it's my fault. And they built JBL. They built him as a very good heel, a very successful heel. And the match against Eddie Guerrero, bloody as fuck, but a really strong showing. Everything about that build was great. The whole segment with him being at the border, and basically standing there and going, I'll just get rid of all the Mexicans and all that myself. It was true of the time. You look back at it now and people go, oh, that's cringe. But that's what a lot of people, like, not just in America, but around the world, were feeling. 9/11 was only 3 years after. We were all in high tension. He was just playing into that part and going with it and showing these guys are real. These type of people will go down to the wall, which would have been in, Trump's day, building the wall there. He was just there before it was, classed as cool for Trump. And he beat the shit out of him. And he was good. And at the same time, he wasn't afraid to make fun of himself as well. Like, I remember the ECW One Night Stand, and Paul Heyman absolutely ripped JBL, saying the only reason you're champ is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like sitting there going, oh my God, you got me. He wasn't afraid to poke fun at himself, but he was he was a prick backstage. I think he grew into the role. I think it was maybe it was harder for people to take him from that because it was such a drastic shift. And that's probably why people were like, what the hell's going on here? But over time, that character did become his own because that's what he was like. And he was the guy you didn't love to hate him because he was a good guy. You loved to hate him because you wanted to see him get his arse handed to him. And when John Cena kicked the crap out of him at the following WrestleMania, whether you liked it or whatever, you were overjoyed that he'd done that. He elevated quite a few guys around him if he was in with him. He elevated guys like Cena, helping them get that win, becoming stars. He moved into commentary. Not his best role, but I don't think he was bad. I've heard worse. I've heard a lot worse. Look at ECW back in the day. Look at WCW back in the day. Christ almighty. So he's certainly better than that. And the times when he did get properly spanked, it gave you hope. It made you feel alive. It made you feel like there was somebody out there that could really just go and kick a bad guy's ass and we could laugh at it. And also, I just remember the Brawl for All. JBL backstage saying he was going to knock everybody out and he got absolutely clobbered. Loved it. Just absolutely loved it. So if you take him out of that, we don't get those fun moments where he actually got destroyed. And also, if we take him out and we're leaving in guys like Chris Benoit and Hulk Hogan, this show will end up going down as one.
I think as well, when you look at it, so if you look at backstage, I mean, obviously we kind of touched on, his antics backstage and prize wanker.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I suppose the question I've got for you then would be, do you think that was a massive hindrance to other guys and guys coming up? Because even guys that he wasn't particularly, and I use the term loosely, bullying to other guys that he wasn't that kind of harsh with. If other boys are seeing that and they're coming through, is that an environment that they want to kick about in? Is that an environment that they want to thrive and push in? Because look at what's happening to these boys coming through. The Miz being a perfect example, who did come out and called them out for being the bully, and numerous people, tell accounts of the Miz having to change elsewhere, eat elsewhere. But then, to be fair, on the flip side, as the Miz does say, there were occasions where JBL was lovely to him.
Yeah. There was a whole pot, and it's also the fact that it wasn't just JBL that did that stuff to the Miz. Benoit was a prime example. Benoit hated him at first because he was a reality TV guy. And a lot of them didn't like it. And that type of culture, sadly, specifically at that time, was not just JBL. Undertaker was like that.
The reason I'm mentioning JBL specifically is obviously because these other guys were around and doing it. He was a big name. One look from him, one look from him.
Yeah, as you say, 100%, and I totally respect where you're coming from with that. But it wasn't just JBL he's the name that's kind of well known for it. But you had guys like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan. Those were the infamous ones from the 90s. Even Bret Hart. Bret Hart was the type of guy that if he didn't like you, you were fucked. Same with guys like, if you had Stone Cold, The Rock, like I say, Undertaker, anybody that could be classed as a big name. Like Jericho did a promo when he first came to WWF, and he was on fire. When he first started, he did one promo against the Undertaker, and it buried him for about a year because Taker didn't like what he said. He thought it was too close to the bone. Jericho didn't get a push for about a year. He ended up dropping down the card. So it was rife. With anybody, JBL's just came out because it's one thing if you do it with another wrestler. It's different when it's somebody that's not a wrestler. Like the commentator, was it Joey Styles? Joey Styles, Charles Robinson as well. When you're doing it to guys that are not wrestlers, that don't have that type of experience, or just are ones that you think, oh, you're like a beta and I can push you around. That's where it went to the point where, it wasn't cool. And it isn't cool to do it to anybody. But when you're deliberately doing it to people that you think can't fight back against you, that's where the problem is. Joey Styles fucking leathered him, and I loved hearing about that. He was just like, you know what? Nah, I ain't cool with this, because he wasn't it on the plane or something? He said something to Lillian Garcia or whatever, and Styles just went up and just and just leathered him, and I was like, good. And I think it was one of the things, like picking on referees like Charles Robinson is not on in the slightest. But he wouldn't have done it to Mike Chioda, because Mike Chioda was a legit tough guy. He is the Steve Blackman of referees. Because everybody's like, you can mess with people, but don't mess with Mike Chioda. And that's where the problem is with JBL. He does that type of thing to people he sees as lesser than him. But at the same time, there's a lot of times where he's bullied people, and you hear more about how it's came back and bit him in the ass than all the other ones that were like, no, I just had to ride it out and deal with it.
The thing is, the reason it came back to bite him is because at that point, the Undertaker wasn't there full time. He was there on a part-time basis. And the reason that JBL got a push was because one word for the Undertaker said that, oh, there's John. They were best pals.
Yeah.
So
and again,
he's got a push because of a word for the Undertaker, because Undertaker and Vince are best pals as well. He's push him.
Again, we are in an industry, guys, like performing-wise, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's the same type of deal. Look at guys like the Ultimate Warrior, who had no business being anywhere near the main event scene, because he'd be coked out his nut, run down, go absolutely mental, would be fit for about 30 seconds of fighting, then run away again, and would be absolutely tanked, like blowing out of his arse, but get pushed because he had the look, and certain people thought he could pull it off. And it's the same in any type of industry with the work that we do. JBL was just fortunate because him and Taker were pally. But if you did genuinely, and it was sad because there was guys in there, like for example Shelton Benjamin, who deserved a better push, but he did get a good couple of rubs. One with Kurt Angle, and wasn't he part of JBL's cabinet as well for a point? Or was that that a different guy? Can't remember.
I can't remember his name.
I can't even go because
Orlando Jordan.
Yeah, it was
Orlando Jordan.
My apologies to Shelton Benjamin, because he did deserve like a big push as well. Orlando Jordan, I thought was a really
You're
good...
not the first person to have made that mistake.
I was not going down that road in case I lost me points, but thank you for making that as the adjudicator, Tony. But in fairness, like the cabinet itself that he came up with, like, and he was basically playing like a cross between JBL and Trump, was great at the time. Well, I do feel bad now because my argument is null and void because I couldn't remember any of the names of the fucking people that were in his cabinet. But at the same time, I did enjoy it. I did think it was a good. There were over the top bad guys you wanted to hate, and then when the whole thing came out with the one night stand and how he legitimately beat the crap out of the Blue Meanie, Blue Meanie wound up getting a better push and a better payday as a result of that, inadvertently, because WWE didn't want to lose it. And they're like, okay, we'll bring him back and we'll give him some publicity and give him some runs. And he actually dines off that more often now because people talk about it constantly, like we're doing now. And then Stevie Richards was like, okay, right, he's going to get his comeuppance. We don't know when, but it's going to happen. And then, as we've discussed, that chair shot was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's one of the ones, you know how when you watch The Rock and Mankind, as I mentioned earlier, and it's uncomfortable to watch now, especially because like all the stuff he's seen from beyond the mat and whatnot, and it's uncomfortable to watch those cheer shots because Mick Foley's a good guy. It's not uncomfortable to watch JBL getting absolutely smashed. It's rewind worthy. Well, back when it was rewind, nowadays it would just be like, skip or like, hit the back button on your TiVos or whatever they call it these days. I'm an old guy. But if you take all that, if you take him away, you get rid of like, a lot, some bad parts. But you get rid of some of the comedy that came with it as well. How he was just like poking the bear of America, and where he was from. Because, all the Texaners had that stereotype of, we're oil barons, we have money, we're racist, we hate Mexicans, we hate the gays, we hate this, we hate that, which was basically as WWE. Let's just be completely real here. It's not any different than what it is. But it holds you need guys like, they hold a mirror up to society. They hold a mirror up to them and go, right, you like him or you hate him because of these views, but you agree with those views. So think about it and and take a good look in the mirror. Because a lot of people back then had the same feelings. Again, 9/11 had just happened. We were all in that high alert, and anybody that had a different color from us, we were like, oh, fuck, he's a bomber. Is that but true? And then ironically, a lot of those guys were looking at us and going, fuck, he's in a boy band.
I would be interested now to hear from Kev, because I feel that Andy's starting to talk his way out the win here.
Yeah.
He was doing very well until we got to a point where you were like, Yeah, and that was a really high moment. What was their names again? And by the way, you were genuinely up here. That's brought you down a bit. It's not killed you off, but it's brought you down a bit because you hyped that up.
Well, in fairness, like this was a common thing with super fights, wasn't it, Kev? I would be like, I'd be doing so well, and then I would talk myself out of the win.
But you've not killed it. That's what
Not
I'm
yet.
saying.
The
You've
night
not
is
killed
young.
it. But let's hear. I'll be interested to hear now from Kev.
Well, during this whole JBL thing, and then pushing him, and pushing people like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and Benoit, I was enjoying it at the start when it was Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. And then they started pushing these other people that had no reason to be pushed. I started to get bored of WWE. I stopped watching it for about 4 years. It wasn't until like 2006, 2007 that I went back to it to see what's happened. Who's there now?
Great Khali
And
killed it for me though.
he killed it for a lot of people.
It's mad what how within 2 weeks of watching it, you've caught right back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was it. It had been years since I'd watched it. I'd went and started watching TNA because that was a more enjoyable show. I started watching Ring of Honor, which again, a more enjoyable show. And that's when I really started getting into the New Japan stuff and seeing what they were doing. And it's like, this is what the Attitude Era was. They're doing what was done, and they're doing it better now. They've got these characters that are larger than life. Get these people in. They could take them on. And like one of the Japanese wrestlers could come in and just devastate WWE at that point because it was there was too much story and not enough wrestling. That's roughly when that started. After the Attitude Era, and then it became the Ruthless Aggression stuff. There's no aggression.
Yeah,
it's talk.
I think the aggression was they shouted sometimes.
Sometimes, if you were lucky.
That's true.
But it's just all of that build up. We had the Attitude Era, and it's all right. It's going to be Ruthless Aggression, and then it got so boring.
But it wasn't the Ruthless Aggression thing that killed it in the first place. It was Austin's heel turn at WrestleMania 17. That was the death of the Attitude Era. And then they were in a limbo because it was the whole get the F out. All that was going on. The invasion storyline was going on. We've discussed that as well. What they were in a weird transition. And then it became Ruthless Aggression. But at the same time, if it wasn't for those type of stories with JBL, lots of people who wouldn't have turned off and went to look at other promotions and seen a wider scope of wrestling. So maybe have JBL to thank for us broadening our horizons of wrestling. Go into what, because even I would go and check out TNA because it was on Bravo at the time.
I mean, Andy, that's like thanking the lassie in McDonald's that spat in my burger and made me go to Burger King.
But in fairness, that's a good Burger King.
No, it definitely is, but it costs me 3 times the price.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, what you could say about a lot of people, you could say, "Oh, well, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, we wouldn't have went over and started watching WCW because of the New World Order thing." Well, there's lots of ways that you can spin things.
Yeah, there's hundreds of ways you can spin things, but I think my point was trying to
if it wasn't for the death.
Broadening your horizons is really clutching at straws.
Yeah, but it's the ultimate irony, though. JBL, who was playing the most racist, bigoted incel character in the world, wound up broadening the wrestling fans' perspective of wrestling and checking out other avenues and seeing other wrestlers and seeing other styles and going, why are they not doing that in the WWE? But you still go back and check.
That we know of had that view.
But you'd still go back and check. You'd still go back to WWE. You would still go and check what they were.
I didn't know for years.
Lots of people would, though. Like you said, it was just Kev. We don't know if it was just Kev. There's a high likelihood that it wasn't just Kev.
There's a high likelihood, but right now all we have to go on is Kev.
all we have to go on is Kev right now. But let us know in the comments if you're a Kev one where you went and broadened your horizons with wrestling. If so, JBL thanks you for your service to your country.
If that was
Almost
JBL that created that, may I just put in?
In fairness,
saying that, when I did start watching WWE again, ECW was part of it, and it's like, oh my god, what have they done to ECW?
Yeah, that had nothing to do with. Well, actually, that did have a little bit to do with JBL though, well, because then we got Blue Meanie back, and then JBL clobbered him, and to avoid a lawsuit, he got a push, and then we got the infamous chair shot. And Stevie Richards, who deserved a lot more than he got to be the guy that is not only just known for the right to censor, but for clobbering JBL and sticking up for his mate. He's one of the nicest professionals in wrestling that you could have in professional wrestling. And most people before that would know him as the guy who played a transvestite. Well, I was glad that that was expunged because it got to be remembered as the guy who clobbered JBL. Well, and don't get me wrong, like there has been times where JBL had his magic has not worked. Like he tried to be manager to Baron Corbin recently. That was horrible. But I think just Baron Corbin just hasn't had any luck. I don't necessarily say that's down to JBL, but I think like that's sad. No, I think sadly though, like, if you delete JBL, and you don't delete guys like Benoit, then what is the actual point? Why you can't delete somebody that was actually so pivotal to getting the WWE where it was? I know a lot of people could take this in the wrong way around. Actually, I'll go 50-50. But if you didn't have JBL, you wouldn't have essentially Cena Mania. It started with him beating JBL. That's when he ascended.
So I want to put that out and go, Kev, how pivotal do you think JBL was?
I don't think he was pivotal at all as a top tier guy. Mid-card tag team at best. He was great as the APA with Ron Simmons. That run was fantastic. But giving him a push to a level that he shouldn't have been at, it was like pushing Rey Mysterio because Eddie Guerrero died. That's essentially why they pushed Rey Mysterio.
You're a sneaky fucker.
It's what they done.
I've got to applaud the brilliance of that.
It's what they done. They pushed JBL because they didn't have anybody at that level, at that moment. So it's like, oh, there's John, he'll be great. He wasn't.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that would agree with you on what John not being great, but at the same time, Cena carried the company through a very, very dark time. Well, because you think that there was nobody when it was JBL, and they had the SmackDown 6, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt frickin' Angle. If he was there around that time, and you're saying that there wasn't anybody to carry the can then, when Kurt Angle and Edge, who became the rated R superstar, were on their books.
Edge wasn't ready at that point. Even he said that. They wanted him to do it then. He said, I'm not ready yet. Was that maybe in a couple of years?
But Kurt Angle was.
He sabotaged himself.
Kurt Angle could have always been there, though. Kurt
Angle couldn't because of his addictions. He'd been in and out of rehab 3 times while touring. He said he wasn't in the headspace for it, which is why I'm saying there was nobody there at the time.
But the whole point was that there was, but nobody was willing to step up to the plate. JBL did, whether we liked it or not. He stepped up to the plate. He carried them through. He brought guys through. He elevated guys, such as Cena, who carried them when there was an extreme lack of any creative talent, any decent wrestlers. When John Cena is wrestling The Miz in WrestleMania 27 to set up 2 once-in-a-lifetime events with The Rock, that's when you know you're in barren stages. JBL did his best with the hand that he was dealt, and I think he did pretty well. We take him out, we potentially do not get the runs for WWE had, and they could have been in a lot worse positions than they were. We would end up having more Triple H reigns of terror, and I'll gladly take a JBL initial spanking run, over 3 years of fucking Triple H's reign of terror, any day with bloated, overhyped, overplayed bullshit matches that last 27 minutes and they're all fucking grappling holds. At least with JBL, you got to see him take some cunt's head off with a clothesline for hell. Mike, drop.
So I suppose my question to you, Kev, now then would be, and I'll push for your closing argument, but to let us know, if JBL's erased, if he's gone, who would have filled that kind of wee gap that he had? That gap that he would have created?
Honestly, you could have had anybody. There was Shelton Benjamin, who was ready for a push. There was Charlie Haas, who was ready for a push. They'd come up with Kurt Angle. The matches they were having were main event.
Mid-card.
People,
at that point,
people
mid-card
were
at
leaving.
best.
People were leaving after these matches because they didn't want to see the upper card matches, because it's like, oh, it's these people and they're stale. These were Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. They were doing things that people wanted to see, and they weren't getting the push because people at JBL didn't.
But they were tag team. They were tag team match, and then they moved them over to Raw, and then they got even worse pushes. They actually got better pushes when JBL was at the top. They weren't ready at the time. I would have loved to have seen it to see if they could have done it, but they didn't step up. And the bottom line is, it's like a Vince McMahon head, which again is bad phrasing, but the guys have to prove that they're over.
They were over though.
They were over, but they couldn't carry it.
There's people that are over and they don't get the push because they're not a Vince guy.
Very true.
That's what it was. They weren't a Vince guy.
Very true.
And they didn't get the push when they could have. I would
at
have
the
same time,
Jinder Mahal's championship run was more legitimate than JBL's. That's what I say.
Whoa. That is fighting words right there. Jinder Mahal.
That's your mic drop.
Jinder Mahal was the reverse JBL because they only used him to plug markets that JBL had initially tried to torch. And they still couldn't do it. They had to go to Saudi Arabia. Double mic drop.
I feel like I can make my decision. And there genuinely has been strong arguments on both sides given. I've got to be honest and say a large chunk of what Andy's talking about I massively agreed with. Almost fucked up by not remembering people's names that were in events that would sit in the memory. Kev, I've got to say, I agree with there was better people that were ready and could have went. I totally agree with that. But looking at it overall, and it's been tough because, as you know, I was in the fence before this, so these arguments really swayed me. What I will say, right, and this is hand up, at several points tonight, I have said in my head, I'm with Andy. He stays. And then there's been umpteen other opportunities where Kev hasn't even had to speak. Andy's just continued to talk, and I've went, oh, I'm against Andy now.
That happened a lot in super fights. He talked himself out.
Yeah,
there's been quite a lot of back and forth. And actually, you were very... It wasn't as close as what it became when you were just about talking yourself out.
We're at less than a minute. I have a feeling that you're going to say what it is and it's going to cut out.
Yep, I very much have that feeling because that's what I'm trying to time. And I feel like I'm going to get to the pinnacle point and then it's just going to cut out. But what I will say is that...
And sure enough, as he's about to tell us, we fucking cut off. Right? So, Tora, we've had multiple internet connections drop to try and get this, so come on, just tell us the decision already.
So I would say that he stays due to the APA work, due to the mid-card work. And Kev, you touched on it during it, the tag team runs, the mid-card runs. For that, I've got to go with that. However, for that, I would have said he stays. But for the main event debacle that he had, for a lot of the stuff that he was involved with, because umpteen people getting involved in it doesn't make it right, doesn't make it perfect. And you think how bad must he have been for so many people to come out? I was very much at he goes. And it was the tag team work, because I loved APA as one of my top 3 tag teams. So for that, I have to give the award to Andy and say it was very, very tight. Because even as I was saying my decision, there was part of me thinking I would like to chuck him out. And it was really the APA stuff that massively saved it.
So the ultimate irony is, like, I was digging myself into a hole for you to get him kicked out, but Kev actually dug a deeper hole by talking about how great the APA was.
Yeah, ultimately. Kev reminded me as to how much I loved that tag team. Whereas when Andy was speaking, I'm thinking to myself, at parts of it, yeah, he's getting to fuck right off of this.
Doesn't matter how you get the win, as long as you get the win. Ironically, that was JBL's trait as a main event heel.
And just so you know, Andy, the cabinet was JBL, Orlando Jordan, Doug and Danny Basham, and Amy Weber. And also Lillian Garcia get forced in.
Oh, that just takes the shine right off it. Poor Lillian. Yep. But then again, she did get absolutely screamed at and bogged by Triple H for calling her a former world heavyweight champion.
Not Lillian Garcia, sorry, Jillian Hall.
Oh, there we go.
That was it.
There we go. Even when you were trying to dig me out of it, you just couldn't stick the landing.
Nah,
you're learning too many bad habits off me, buddy.
I know. I need to stop doing videos with you.
Exactly. Like you're solid on your own, man. You're solid. But I think realistically, if we had kept Hulk Hogan in, a JBL would get kicked out. I don't know how many people would have been okay with that. I probably would have been fine with it in retrospect.
Fuck it, let's kick him out. I'm the quizmaster. I can do what I want here. Fuck it, he goes.
You already made the 3 counts already been done. It's been written in the history books. That's it. He's gone.
We'll edit that out. Fuck it, he's off.
None of you know how to do editing yet, so he's still in. Fuck you.
Well, that's actually a very kind of complex thought to have, that none of us know how to do it.
Yeah, well, I've not shown you yet. I don't doubt your capabilities.
I have actually sat studying this at nights.
Oh, what, in between all those meetings?
Yes.
In between the meetings of the previous meetings.
Hence of why I go to my bed at like 3 and 4 in the morning, and I'm up at 6:30.
Well, that's why I have kids, and that's why Kev has kids.
Yep.
I would say it was a very healthy debate, very, very strong on all sides. In fairness, Kev, when you did talk, you did have a good game. You always just keep the finishers.
Let's not take this winner speech too far, Andy. It was tight as fuck, and Kev's words actually got you the win.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm just glad that for once I didn't screw myself over. I'm okay with that.
You pretty much almost did.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. That's why we need to have just a round again where it's used to fighting, because I always just seem to be the one that just gets absolutely railroaded by myself. But we've done what we said we'd do. We're going to try and keep it before 10 o'clock at the time of this recording. So we've done not bad. We're within that time frame. Yep. So this is when we go to the next one. So we have a choice, my friends, of what we want to do for the next WWE ERASE. So we have a choice between either the Fabulous Moolah and CM Punk.
Kev, you take your choice, because I'd picked JBL on the choice for this one. That's what we went with, so you pick.
I think we should go with CM Punk.
CM Punk it is. That'll be the next one for Should WWE Erase, everybody. And make sure you tune into that, because that is going to be a very interesting one. I think that has to be between Toner and Kev, because I will be honest, I don't know as much about CM Punk to fight for or against Well, I know the main points. I know about the Summer of Punk, like the first one, and the WWE one. Well, I know about the the circumstances of why I left. Well, but I couldn't form a good argument to go for it either way. Like JBL's one, I was able to form such a good argument. I was able to kill myself. Like that's one I wouldn't be able to put up a fight at all. It would be like Brock Lesnar taking on Zach Gowen. So I think I'll need to be the judge on that one. So you guys can decide who's for and who's against, and then we shall discuss it at the next WWE Erase. We'll probably have maybe another couple of top fives in between, depending on the recording schedule. But we'll see how it goes. Until next time, everybody, I've been Andrew Durnan. We have John Toner. We have Kevin Tierney. And I actually got the points right. This has been Ross Ginger. Good night.
Yeah.
Cheers.